Is the Kevin Stefanski era finally coming to a crashing halt in Cleveland despite a winning streak to end the year? What is really going on behind closed doors between the rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders and a coach who has been on the hottest seat in the entire National Football League? Today, we are peeling back the layers of a season that defied logic and left every Browns fan on the edge of their seat. But before we dive into this absolute bombshell of a report, I need to know, where are the best fans in the world watching from? Comment the city you are watching from right now. Also, if you bleed orange and brown, hit that like button. And if you never want to miss a breaking update on your team, subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications. We have a lot to cover today. Let's talk about the scene in Cincinnati. It was January 4th, 2026. The air was cold, the stakes were high for the Bengals. But for the Cleveland Browns, it was about pride and perhaps employment security. The Browns managed to wrap up the season with a rarity, a 2-game winning streak. They took down the Steelers at home in Week 17, and then they marched into Paycor Stadium and pulled off a 2018 upset of the Bengals. It was a game that felt like a playoff atmosphere for a team that has spent most of the year in the basement. At the center of it all was Shedeur Sanders, the number 12, a fifth-round pick who many experts said wouldn't even see the field this year, was diving for first downs, fighting for every inch against defenders like Geno Stone. This win brought Sanders to a 3-4 record as a starter. On paper, that doesn't scream franchise legend, but when you look at where this team was in the first 10 weeks of the year, it's a miracle. Remember, the Browns were a disaster early on. They cycled through Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel, searching for any spark of life. The offense was stagnant, the morale was low, and the fans were calling for heads to roll. When Shedeur Sanders finally got the nod, the energy shifted. But did it shift enough to save Kevin Stefanski? That is the million-dollar question. Stefanski has been embattled for over a month now. Even with these 2 wins, the whispers in the front office are getting louder. The rumors suggest that the ownership might want a fresh start, regardless of how the season ended. Let's look at the historical context here. The Cleveland Browns have a history of being impatient, but they also have a history of holding on to coaches just a bit too long when the writing is on the wall. Think back to the Hugh Jackson era or the Freddie Kitchens disaster. Stefanski has had more success than most, but the regression in the middle of this season was alarming. Sanders was far from perfect against the Bengals. He was 11 for 22 passing for 111 yards. That's a rating of 64.8. In the modern NFL, those are not numbers that typically secure your job. However, Sanders has shown a knack for making the big play when it counts. It's that X factor that you can't always coach. He gives the team a chance to be competitive. When he dived for that first down in the fourth quarter, you saw a player who was playing for his coach, or at least playing to prove he belongs in the league. The relationship between a rookie QB and a veteran coach under fire is always complicated. Sanders was asked point-blank after the win how he felt about the job Stefanski has done. His response was telling. He didn't give a standard "we love him" PR answer. He called him tough. He said, "I think just Coach Kev, he's been real tough. He's been tough." That word tough carries a lot of weight in the locker room. It can mean resilient, or it can mean difficult to work with. But Sanders followed it up by saying he grew and learned a lot. This week, they had a private conversation about things in general. This suggests a breakthrough in their relationship, but is it too little, too late? The Browns have a roster that is built to win now, with a massive payroll and a defense that shouldn't be losing 10 games a year. When you look at the last 3 seasons of Browns football, the inconsistency is the only consistent thing. In 2023, they were the darlings of the league with a stout defense. In 2024, injuries derailed them. And in 2025, the quarterback carousel nearly ended their relevance before Shedeur stabilized the ship. If you compare Shedeur's 3-4 stretch to the first 7 games of the season under the veterans, the difference in scoring efficiency is notable, even if the yardage isn't explosive. The fans on Reddit and Twitter are completely divided. One half of the dog pound is screaming to keep the momentum going with Sanders and Stefanski, while the other half is terrified of another year of mediocrity. They see the 111-yard passing performance, and they see a ceiling that is too low for the AFC North. They see the 64.8 rating, and they worry about the future. But then they see the win over the Steelers and the Bengals, 2 divisional rivals, and they wonder if something finally clicked. We have to analyze the financial side of this. Stefanski's contract and the potential buyouts are always a factor for the Haslam family. If they fire him now, they are paying for a coach to stay at home while they bring in a high-priced replacement. And what about Shedeur? As a 5th-round pick, his contract is a bargain.
He provides the Browns with massive salary cap relief compared to a veteran starter. This allows them to spend on the offensive line and the secondary. But you can't just play bargain football in a division with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. You need elite production. Is Shedeur Sanders capable of elite production, or is he just a high-level backup who got hot at the right time? The storytelling of this season is one of survival. Sanders talked about learning what I like and what I don't like, and dealing with feelings. This is a young man who has been under the microscope his whole life because of his name. But in Cleveland, he found a different kind of pressure. He found a city that is desperate for a savior. He mentioned that he and Stefanski shared different things that we go through. This points to a human connection that might be the only thing keeping Stefanski in the building. But the NFL is a business, not a family drama. The upcoming schedule for 2026 is already looking brutal, and the front office has to decide if this duo is the one to lead them through it. We are going to break down the specific rumors regarding the GM's decision and the internal locker room atmosphere in just a moment. Stay tuned for part 2, because we have the deep dive into the nucleus of this rookie class, and the real reason why this win against the Bengals might actually be the end of an era rather than a new beginning.
Welcome back to the second half of our massive breakdown. We are diving deep into the implications of that Week 18 win and what it really means for the future of the Cleveland Browns. We just talked about the tension between Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski, but now we need to look at the nucleus. After the game, Shedeur was incredibly reflective. He talked about the rookie class and the need to lean on each other. "You gotta create your own reality," he said. That sounds like a player who knows the external reality is chaotic. Let's look at the financial implications of this rookie class. The Browns hit gold in the later rounds, which is exactly what a team with a bloated salary cap needs. If they can build around these low-cost contracts, they can maintain their stars like Myles Garrett. But if the coaching staff changes, does the development of these rookies stall? Historically, when a new coach comes in, they bring their guys. They change the scheme. A change at the top could mean Shedeur Sanders is relegated back to the bench or even traded. We've seen it happen time and time again in the NFL. A coach gets fired, a new one arrives, and suddenly the promising young quarterback is no longer in the plans. Let's get into the deep analysis of the Cincinnati game. While the 111 yards passing seems low, you have to look at the hidden stats. Sanders had 3 crucial third-down scrambles that don't show up as passing yards, but kept the clock moving and kept the Bengals' high-powered offense off the field. This is the game management that Stefanski loves. However, is game management enough to win a Super Bowl? If you look at the last 3 seasons, the teams making deep playoff runs are the ones with quarterbacks throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Browns are currently playing a 1990 style of football, heavy defense and cautious offense. Rumors are circulating that GM Andrew Berry is already looking at the 2026 draft class for a potential true franchise QB to compete with Sanders. The fact that the Browns reportedly made a decision on Stefanski is the biggest headline of the week. Some sources say the decision was made before the Bengals game even started. If that's true, the win was just a swan song. Imagine winning your last 2 games against rivals only to be told your services are no longer required. That is the cold, hard reality of the NFL. But let's look at the other side. What if the decision was to keep him? If Stefanski stays, he and Sanders have a full offseason to build on that conversation they had. They can tailor the playbook to Sanders' mobility and quick release. The nucleus Sanders mentioned includes several young receivers and a developmental tackle who showed flashes of dominance. If this group stays together, the Browns could be the dark horse of the 2026 season. Now, let's talk about the fan sentiment. The dog pound is exhausted. They have seen too many rebuilds. The sentiment on social media is a mix of start Shedeur in 2026 and blow it all up. The loyalty to Stefanski is thin. Despite his playoff appearance in the past, the "what have you done for me lately" culture of the NFL is hitting hard. The tactical analysis shows that the Browns' offense struggled with verticality all season. Sanders wasn't asked to throw deep often. Was that because he can't, or because Stefanski didn't trust him? In the Bengals game, most of his completions were under 10 yards. To beat the elite teams, you have to stretch the field. If the Browns bring in a new offensive coordinator or a new head coach, expect that to be the #1 priority. Let's look at the salary cap for next year. The Browns are in a tight spot. They have massive dead cap hits looming. This is why Shedeur Sanders is so valuable. He is playing on a 5th-round rookie scale. If they keep him, they save nearly $30 million compared to signing a mid-level veteran. That $30 million can be used to keep the defense elite. It's a mathematical puzzle that Andrew Berry has to solve. If he fires Stefanski, he has to find a coach who is willing to work with a 5th-round QB, or someone who can win with a rookie from the next draft. It's a high-stakes gamble. The conclusion of the 2025 season felt more like a beginning than an end to Shedeur Sanders. He said, "I learned what I see well and what I don't see well. I learned a lot mentally, emotionally, physically."
That is the language of a player who expects to be the starter on day one next year. He's creating his own reality, just like he said. But will the Browns organization be part of that reality? The victory in Cincinnati was a feel-good moment, a rarity for a franchise that has suffered so much. But as the confetti, or in this case the cold Ohio rain, settled, the reality of the business took over. The bond between Sanders and his fellow rookies is the nucleus that could save this team. But every nucleus needs a stable environment to thrive. Is Kevin Stefanski that stability, or is he the variable that needs to be removed? We are hearing that a formal announcement could come as early as Monday morning. The players are heading into their exit interviews, and you can bet Shedeur Sanders will be advocating for his tough coach. But in the end, the win-loss record and the lack of offensive explosion might be the final nails in the coffin. This season was about how you deal with feelings, according to Sanders. Well, the fans are feeling anxious, the coach is feeling the heat, and the quarterback is feeling like he's done enough. Is it enough? Only time will tell. Make sure you stay tuned to this channel because as soon as the official word drops from the Browns headquarters, we will be the first to bring it to you. This is one of the most pivotal off-seasons in Cleveland history. Will they choose the path of continuity or the path of chaos? Whatever they choose, it's going to be a wild ride. Thank you for watching this massive breakdown. Don't forget to comment your city, like the video if you want the Browns to succeed, and subscribe for more exclusive NFL content. We'll see you in the next one as we continue to track every move of the Cleveland Browns. Go Browns!